Hey everyone, welcome to Snarf Talk with Chris.
And Jerry.
And this is our podcast where we give you a behind the scenes look as we create a comic book.
We're going to talk about TV, movies, comic books, and hopefully have a lot of guests, other writers, creators, and friends.
Check us out at snarfcomics.com. You can check out our blog and follow along with everything we got going on. Also, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Snarf Comics. And please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes.
Enjoy the episode. I feel it in my blood.
We're back
I feel it in my soul. This podcast.
after a long hiatus. What feels like a long hiatus.
For us, it's been a
But
long
to the
hiatus.
listening audience, we didn't miss a beat.
No, you would never know the difference because we are professionals. We are professional.
So we are back to recording current events. So
Yes, it is current
we
events.
are recording week of.
We are pretty current event as it is.
We were supposed to record last week.
Well, there's just a lot.
Jerry almost died.
Yeah, it turns out you're supposed to take blood pressure medicine,
Yeah.
and I failed at that.
And then we were supposed to record on the weekend. And Jerry blew us off for our biggest critic.
Yeah, for the only critic. For the only critic that we have.
Did you read my episode description from this week?
Yes, I did. It was very good. What's it say about, I forgot what it actually says, but it says David, like something, the David.
Yeah, I can't remember either, but
It's pretty good. It's funny. If you haven't heard
sometimes it takes me a while to write the episode descriptions, but usually I'm pretty happy with
I
it.
leave that solely up to you because I just can't. I don't want to put
I
that
have
much
to
time into it.
listen to the episode first before I can write them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You'd have to.
We roast one of our favorite and most frequently wrong listeners, David.
Yeah, that's right.
As we correct the record on the Fuji's, Lauryn Hill, and dinosaur reproduction methods.
I talked to him about that.
Did you
on
like
Saturday.
my Avengers Endgame pregame?
What?
I call it, we did the Avengers Endgame pregame.
It was the pregame.
Yeah.
It was absolutely the pregame to the show because we recorded like 2 days prior to us seeing it. And by the way, we saw it.
We did.
I don't know if you know that.
Our game was ended.
It was, our game was ended.
Should we bring it right up to the top of the show?
I mean, we might as well. That's what this show's basically about.
We
is Avengers Endgame.
Saw Avengers Endgame. What?
So this is going to be spoiler ridden.
Oh
right?
yeah,
like
right off the bat, this is a spoiler episode.
Spoilers for Endgame. Spoilers for
Game of Thrones.
And it's going to be 2 episodes of Game of Thrones now because 2 episodes have passed since we talked about it last.
Yeah, so we're going to do reviews, of the most current episode, which just came out.
Yes, last Sunday. That would be 2 days ago. And then the Sunday prior to that where, some shit going down.
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
So, spoilers coming in 3, 2, 1. It's a spoiler show.
Spoiler show. Full of spoilers.
All right, so
Everyone dies.
I hate to tell people to skip an episode.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're not really telling you to skip it. It's just that if you haven't seen these things that we're going to talk about,
They're going to have to skip it then
you just don't listen to the episode.
until after you've seen the
But
things.
we're not telling you have to skip it.
No,
if you
I
want
would-
to spoiler the shit out of what you watch,
You don't want to have Endgame spoiled.
no.
If you have not seen
really don't.
Endgame, first of all, Anthony and Joe Russo, the directors of Endgame, came out officially and said last Monday was the spoiler deadline.
Yeah, well, I
Or
agree.
What it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
So we said it
Or
on
was it this Monday?
on the last podcast. We said it.
Yeah, we're going to give them 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we did.
You've had a full 2 weeks to watch this. If you haven't been spoiled by the internet yet,
Yeah, it's just too late.
then I mean, and you know what? Even so, to be honest with you, I don't feel like talking about, spoilers. Tony Stark dying is that big of a spoiler. I think everybody knew this was going to happen. It really isn't that big of a spoiler. Like just hearing the fact that he dies, I don't think is a spoiler because you don't know the context of any of it.
Right. Well, here's the thing. It's not spoilers in the the vein of it's going to ruin the movie. Like,
No.
oh, he was dead the whole time, like in Sixth Sense. That that ruins the movie.
Right.
These are spoilers, like in it'd be really cool to experience these moments that are incredible.
Yeah.
Without having previously known them.
But see, like even I knew, like in my mind,
I think
like,
everybody
that he
knew.
was going to die.
I think everybody did.
I didn't know how. I didn't know where. I didn't know, and why. I mean, I guess I knew why he was going to die, but I didn't know how or like
Right.
How it was going to be put together.
So, I mean, here's the deal. If you haven't seen it by now, you're already past the big spoiler because Jerry already said it. But
Right.
Who are you? Where are you from? Because this movie has made almost $2.3 billion. This movie was the first movie ever to open over $1 billion. Nothing had even been in the stratosphere of $1 billion. For a 3-day opening weekend, box office was $1.2 billion.
Yeah, 1.22 billion, and then it was like 357 million. Remember we were talking about
That
what
was
it would do domestically?
That was on Sunday morning.
Yeah,
and it added another something like 100.
357.1 domestic by Sunday.
Right.
And we were talking about if it was going to hit over 300. And
I said 350 was going to be my number.
Was it?
Which was pretty close.
Because I remember saying it has to go over 300. Like, there's no way it doesn't go over 300 domestic.
Right now it's at 631 million domestic. Foreign is 1.6 billion. 2.2 billion. Do you think it beats Avatar? Avatar, it's now currently the second highest grossing movie of all time. It's beaten Titanic handily. Avatar's at 2.7 billion.
So
it's got a long ways to go.
600,000? No, 400,000.
No.
You said it was at 2.3 billion.
2.3 billion versus 2.7 billion. That's
400,000.
400 million.
Or 400 million. Yeah, you're right. Oh, geez.
And it's been out for 2 weeks. So, I mean, I think
where do they draw the line?
Theatrical run.
Just it's theatrical run? Yeah.
Right.
I think it will. How
most
could it
people
not
are predicting
beat
that
Avatar?
most people are predicting that it won't because of a set of circumstances having to do with the time of year. First of all, Avatar came over the Christmas season. There's a lot of reasons why the domestics on Avatar were insane, or the international box office was insane. There was lots of repeat viewerships. Obviously, there's lots of repeats on Endgame too, but I think it might beat it. But it does have a ways to go to beat 2.7
it does,
billion.
but I still feel like it's possible.
When you look at like a lot of these movies though, and they open to what's Captain Marvel open to 150 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
maybe
300 million international, total.
Yeah,
and it, within a month, it had been over $1 billion in a month. I think it was even a couple months. It's still in theaters.
Yeah.
So Endgame is going to be in theaters. It's still filling the theaters. Like I looked the other day because I was thinking about taking the kids to a different movie. Most theaters, there's like 3 movies playing because Avengers is still on like all of their screens.
All of the screens. That's the thing. Yeah.
So I mean,
I really feel like it's going to be.
And like there are people like my mom really likes the Marvel movie. She still hasn't seen it. So there's people that haven't seen it. She just hasn't got around to it.
Yeah. Do you think she's going to go in theaters?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, all right.
Definitely.
Well, there's another, $7, $8.
There's another $9.75.
Yeah.
If you go to Oswego.
That's wild.
I wonder how much of the box office stuff going on now is that on a whole, I think there's higher average ticket prices now. Now, I know that 2.7 is adjusted for inflation.
I was going to say, I think they adjust that stuff.
But I'm saying the base fares aren't the only fares now. They have special seats. They got recliner seats. They got special theaters. They got IMAX where you're paying up. You're paying up to $20, $25 a ticket rather than the standard traditional $12 a ticket now in a normal theater.
Do they average that? Do they average ticket prices?
Yeah, I mean, that's the ticket sales total.
Huh.
This is like a big deal probably for movie theaters, which have been struggling over the years.
I guarantee you it's given them a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
A lot.
I mean, I think I would bet. I mean, I wouldn't bet.
Just because of the amount of food and popcorn and crap that they sell just for that movie
They
alone.
make a lot of the money on concessions, but somebody once told, Kevin Smith I once heard say, and I don't know if this is true at all, but he said about when you see a gross, say $1 billion, half of that money doesn't count towards the movie because it goes to the movie theaters. Like 50% of the ticket price goes to the theater.
Really?
So when they say, "Hey, this movie made $1 billion," it really only made 500,000. You know what I mean? Or 500 million.
Yeah.
You know, because he talks about this actually on
that
stage,
makes sense.
and then
That
he said,
makes
you know,
sense.
like, "Oh, this movie had a $20 million budget and it made $30 million. You know, was that a success?" And he said, you know, well, $20 million is what the movie costs. $20 million was the marketing budget, so right there you're at 40. It made 30, but 15 of that goes to the movie theater. You know, anyway, getting into the weeds here in the math. Let's talk more about Avengers Endgame,
So
which has made all the money. That was the only point of any of that ranting was it's made a tremendous amount of money and
the money.
well deserved, unbelievable movie. What did you think?
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing. There's no. I don't feel like there's a perfect ending to anything. Really, there's always criticisms. This is a pretty perfect ending.
It's
to a 10 or 11-year run now.
22 movies.
It's been since 2008, right? That's
2008, yeah.
Came out.
It's just unbelievably perfect. It's a perfect movie.
To cap off this whole epic saga of movies,
which nothing has ever existed like this in the history of
I don't
ever.
know if we'll see another
don't think we
thing
will.
of this magnitude. And we talked about that when we left the movie theater, is that this was like our Star Wars, basically. Yeah. I mean, I know we still have Star Wars and Star Wars is still coming out, but when Star Wars first came out in the 70s, like that was a big deal, you know, and these people saw this epic saga of movies come out over a string of years, and it was just 3 of them. But either way, it was so groundbreaking and like so profound because of all these people flooding the theaters to see those things. This trumps that.
A billion. I mean, it's 22
so much more.
movies. At no point ever in the history of anything has there been an interconnected universe like this of different movies. I mean, it's one thing to have a trilogy, which, like you said, Star Wars kind of invented,
right?
Which is amazing. But nothing at this scale. It's so improbable that it could ever happen in the first place.
Yeah,
and then that it worked so phenomenally,
and
then it was ended perfectly. I just don't see how it can ever exist again.
I don't think so. I don't think it can.
And we've
Not
seen
to this
DC
magnitude.
fail miserably at it.
Sure.
We've seen Universal fail miserably at it with the Universal Monsters series.
Yeah.
Which sounded like a cool idea, but failed miserably. Other things have tried this recently since Marvel and failed.
Yeah, you have to have the right everything. Like everything has to align perfectly in order for this to work. They have the right
one thing, and that's Kevin Feige.
Yes, Kevin Feige, and he's like the puppet master of all of this, right?
If you guys don't know who he is the mastermind behind the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's a huge nerd.
He doesn't write the movies, though.
No.
So he's not a writer of the movies, but he is the, like I said, puppet master of each movie.
It's interesting, and I listened to a really in-depth podcast that I will probably reference throughout this conversation today from the writers of the movie, Marcus and McFeely.
Yeah.
And it's very much, they are the writers, but it's very much a collaborative process between Kevin Feige. Usually there'll be another Marvel executive, the directors. So the Russo brothers had a lot of input into all of this, and then the writers, and they all are kind of a team, and they write this over years. You know, they've been working on this for 4 years, and they wrote, by the way, all 3 Captain America movies, Infinity War and Endgame,
and Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah. Part of it, and the Russo brothers have been around at least for 2 of those Captain America movies, and then Infinity War and Endgame. So, but I thought it was really interesting. Kevin Feige, of course, like you said, the puppet master, kind of the man in charge of making the decisions of where everything's going and what's coming next. But I thought it was really interesting because I had always assumed that this had all been planned out from the start, and it really wasn't. they make it known, and that they're like, no, Kevin's like the kind of guy that's like, put everything on the table, everything, play all your cards right now. We don't know if we'll ever get another shot at this.
Oh,
Like,
really?
he was talking
See,
about,
I haven't listened to this podcast yet.
yeah,
so-
when they wanted to do Captain America 2,
Mm-hmm.
so what became Winter Soldier, they knew that storyline was an option. They're like, well, we can't do this in the second movie. We got to hold that till the third movie. And then
Oh.
they're like, no, let's play the best cards we got.
right.
Let's not hold out. And he said, no, we don't get where we are now without that happening then. And then they also say, I had assumed they knew where everything was going, but
Yeah,
even
I would've
Endgame
too.
wasn't written all the way when Infinity War was done. So like a lot of that stuff was written it wasn't written all together. Like and then the way
See, you would definitely assume that Infinity War and Endgame were written as one piece, like one script, basically.
that's what's so incredible about that creative people here involved, is because, there's a lot we're going to go into on Endgame, but I mean, one thing that really stands out to me that goes in the vein of it being the perfect ending to this and being so satisfying is the just masterful character arcs that were ended here.
That were ended, yeah. And you had to wrap them up. That's why it's called Endgame, right? And you had to wrap them up in some way, shape, or form. And
specifically,
even so, like take Hawkeye for example. You would think that he was wrapped up 2 movies ago. Where you really don't see him at all in Infinity War, but then you bring him back, and he was one of my favorite characters in Endgame because of what he was doing and how he came back, and his storyline was awesome. But yet they finish him off even better. Like I think where they leave Hawkeye is good. A lot of people don't like him and think he's a useless character. I would agree on most of the parts, but Endgame made me love him again.
see, I think he's one of the exceptions because his story doesn't seem done.
It's not necessarily done, but they still wrap it up in a way that makes you think like, oh, I'm glad he got his shot.
Yeah.
Like he finally felt like a character that meant something
Yeah.
to the movies, because before it's just like that guy standing over in the corner shooting arrows at nothing.
Right.
And now he actually got to do something. He got to be a part of the war.
I think
I like that.
I mean, the character development, but that goes all the way back. So obviously the best example of this, I think, is Captain America and Iron Man.
Yeah.
But think about this. I mean, they're paying off and landing story beats that started in Captain America, the First Avenger.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're paying off. This whole story started there and ended at Endgame. And that wasn't written ahead of time. Every person that in this case, it was handled the entire time by the same creative team.
Yes.
But they wrote that into every movie, this progression of that character. And everybody knows that if you go through First Avenger, Winter Soldier, and Civil War, there's a character progression of Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
But it really plays out big time in Endgame with Captain America's character. And the other side of that,
sure.
it does the same exact thing with Iron Man. And what I think is really interesting is they start... Captain America, Tony Stark, and Steve Rogers start in one place each. And then their character arcs completely intersect and end opposite.
Yeah.
So Tony Stark starts self-involved.
Completely.
And then as his arc grows, he learns to give everything.
Yes. I wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
And Captain America starts by continually giving everything.
Yep.
And ends by taking a life for himself.
Just doing one thing for himself.
I mean, that's masterful.
Isn't it awesome?
It's insane. And they do it not just there. I mean, they do it with Black Widow.
Yeah, they did it with Black
Also
Widow.
kind of a side-ish character.
Yep.
But they take her character arc full circle. They do it with Thor.
Yeah.
Maybe as good as any of them.
Thor's pretty good. It bugs me, though.
Okay.
That's the only critique I have of the whole entire movie.
Put aside Fat Thor.
I know.
Which I think is genius.
It's hilarious.
And Chris Hemsworth loved it.
He plays it really well. It's hilarious.
But they give him a hell of a character arc through the last... Since the very first Thor movie and through this movie, that character definitely changes and grows. And he leaves Endgame in a completely different place. You know, it's great. There's a great scene that I completely almost forgot about in this movie, and I've seen it twice now. But when the Hulk and somebody, Rocket, go to get him in New Asgard,
Yep.
and like he's got PTSD,
Bad.
you know,
Because of he feels like he failed. He failed everybody because he couldn't take down Thanos when he knows he can.
right?
He knows he absolutely can. And then he feels like he's basically killed everyone.
Right.
He's gotten everyone killed, and he's not good enough anymore. He's not worthy to carry a hammer or carry what's that, Stormbreaker?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? He's not worthy to carry these things anymore. So just gonna drown myself in my sorrow,
Right.
you know? And that's what he goes and does, and becomes super fat. And I like how they play, like they're like playing Fortnite together.
I love the Big Lebowski references. I mean,
Yeah.
this movie, I mean, the references are so amazing. The humor is so amazing. But the fact that they're constantly landing story beats that they've set up
over
movies
and over.
over and over and over again from movies prior, especially with Captain America.
Well, yeah. So it's about Captain America, really, because
I don't know. I think, see, that's funny. I think it's more about Iron Man, about Tony Stark.
it is, in a way. It's about both of them equally, I guess I should say, because the writers that are doing the writing for this movie were Captain America writers, right?
Right.
So they wrote all of those, and I feel like they gave a lot of attention to him. But then again, yeah, they give a lot of attention to Tony Stark too, because like you said, he finally gets to become like a selfless hero at the end.
And all of this starts with Tony Stark in
Yes.
2008 with the first Iron Man, and it all ends with Tony Stark.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
And they give him that beautiful scene in the middle with his dad.
Yep.
I mean, now we've talked about kind of overarching stuff, but I would love to go and look into kind of the beats of that movie, because it's incredible. Like just from the very beginning,
Yeah. Tony on the ship.
the cold open with Hawkeye's family.
Oh yeah.
It really sets a tone. And that's another thing that I find interesting in this movie. I expected it to be like they made Infinity War and Endgame as one big movie and they cut it in half.
and that's what I thought.
Tonally, they're completely different movies.
Yeah.
And this movie Endgame takes you really on an emotional ride.
Big time. So you get to see what happens in Hawkeye's world when the snap occurs.
I mean, he goes insane.
Yeah, he's with his family. They're just like out having like a picnic lunch.
It's heartbreaking.
He's teaching his daughter how to shoot bows and arrows, you know, and then he like turns around to talk to his family, and they're gone, and then all of a sudden his daughter's gone, and you see them like turn to ash and disappear.
Of course, and he has no idea what that
And he
means.
has no
or is.
idea what's going on, and running around screaming, trying to find them. They're gone.
Right.
And then he does basically go insane and turns into what's called in the comic book world, or his character then turns into Ronin.
Yeah.
And he's taking it out on everyone.
Right.
You know, they don't show him really doing much of that, just little snippets of it a little bit, but they reference it. They talk about it. Who is it? Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
What's his character's name? Well, War Machine.
War Machine.
He says it to
Rhodey.
yeah, he says he's gone, you know, he's gone insane. He's gone crazy.
And it's great. I hope they explore that.
Yeah.
Going up in the show, or at least in another movie. I don't think he's done. I think we'll see more
Probably
of
not.
Hawkeye in the future.
He likes money. I feel like he hasn't got enough dues, enough pay yet.
Yeah. And there was a time when it was a big A-list actor, but I think those times have kind of outside
so?
of the Avengers movies. Yeah. Like
Jeremy
he was
Renner?
he was in one of the Bourne movies.
Well, yeah, when Bourne like went off the deep end.
Well,
It
anyway.
went bad.
So, and then after that, you just kind of get, for me, what was you can't even say one of the biggest shocks of the movie, because there's so many in this movie.
They're all
But when they all kind of gather together and go after, I guess,
Oh, yeah, right off the bat.
was that after
Captain Marvel shows up.
Yeah.
She shows up
Yeah.
to the headquarters and she's like, "Why don't we just go get him? Where's he
so
at?"
they go after him, and then right off the bat, man, bam, they cut off Thanos' head.
Yeah, and Thor gets to.
And Thor does it. Yeah.
They get into Thanos' house, and he talks about how he destroyed the stones the Infinity Stones because they were basically killing him, and he didn't want to undo what was already done. So he destroys them, and it messes them up really bad. Well, obviously they get the upper hand on him because they come to the place, and Captain Marvel comes in and like beats the crap out of him right away, holding him down, and without a word or anything happening, Thor comes up and takes his head off.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere. And it's really like, holy shit, like this is the bad guy. I thought,
Right.
what are we going to do with the next 2 hours and 45 minutes
Yeah.
of our time?
I just think that's definitely a standout moment for me in the
Big
theater
time.
watching it.
I think it's really great to do that because of the effects it gives you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of like the build up to the big bad scene,
Right.
where you always have at the end, which you're still going to get. It's just that now it leaves you unable to guess. Really.
Right. And I, for the most part, was unable to guess.
Right. And that's the genius behind it, because everybody has an idea of how these movies will build up and end. Any movie you go to, you watch a little bit of it and you're like, oh, okay, well this, and this will play out to the end. But with Endgame, they go in right off the bat, cut his head off, and you know there's something else involved. You assume there's going to be time travel involved, but you
Right.
don't know how. But even so, you're like, wait a minute.
Turns out it's all because of the biggest hero of this movie.
A rat.
A rat.
Yes, a rat is the biggest hero of the movie.
This is a little coincidental.
Yeah,
I'll
and
say
it,
that,
and
but-
it could be. I'm surprised there hasn't been a little bit more backlash on the internet about that. But
There has been a fair bit, but,
But
this
given-
movie's so good, I think it's hard to
given the
backlash
scope
it.
and the
This movie,
grandiose of this movie,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Those things don't matter. Just go with it.
It doesn't.
But I mean, really, honestly, this is a very Ant-Man centric movie. He comes off, and they pay off a lot of humor, not just with him, but with Thor. I mean, that's
he's
their
the
main
dude.
comical relief is Paul Rudd and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And honestly, to a point, Smart Hulk, which again I didn't see coming. Amazing.
Yeah, I really like how they played that.
They didn't pay off. They did.
That was a '90s character, right? Didn't Hulk?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was like
What was
Science
the guy's
Hulk.
name? David. It was a particular writer that did that for a while.
Okay.
I can't remember. I mean, they just called him.
Scientist Hulk.
No,
or
I
something?
mean they just called him like Intelligent Hulk. I can't remember, but yeah, and I really enjoyed that character, and I love that diner scene with Paul Rudd and when the people want to take the selfie with him.
Oh yes, yes. And he's
You
like,
want to take a selfie with Ant-Man?
Yeah, that's right. You know, I'm like,
Put down the goddamn phone.
I'm a superhero too.
No, I thought that was great. They did play with the character arc of Hulk, but I feel like they're still working with it.
Yeah,
They do. I like the payoff at the end when he gets the gauntlet. It almost makes you choke up a little bit. They get the gauntlet back, and Hulk's like, I have to wear it. He's like,
right.
I feel like maybe I was made for this.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a powerful
And
moment.
then you think about it, and you're like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense that you would do this, or you would be the one.
I don't think we've
to
seen
be
the
able to
last
do
of
it.
Hulk.
No, I don't think so either, and I'm glad. I mean, he's still around.
They can't, it's very difficult for them to make standalone Hulk movies, apparently, because Universal owns the rights to the Hulk.
Okay.
They
I
can
think,
use him as a character
yeah.
in Marvel movies. Obviously, they have made standalone Hulk movies, but I think they have to make them in conjunction with Universal. So,
I think they will.
you know,
I think they can pull off anything now.
oh, for sure. That's a rich story, too. I mean, yeah, especially if they did Red Hulk, which I think would be cool. But anyway, beside the point. That's an amazing scene, and I think everything to do, with the time travel stuff, you just have to. They poke fun at it so much that it makes you sit back and go, like, you know what, they're right. Let's not think about
Why
it.
criticize the whole time
And they
travel
do that. I
thing?
mean,
And
they specifically make those Back to the Future references and stuff.
they reference it multiple times where they're just like, okay, we get it. Yes.
Yeah,
Like, but it's not that way.
We don't care. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Just go with it. It's a comic book movie.
Basically.
And you totally do because of what they give you. And I remember sitting in that theater. I don't remember what moment it was, but I turned to you in the theater and I'm like, this might be the best movie ever made. And I
Yes.
don't remember what the moment was.
I don't
think
remember
it was
what it
when
was
Captain
either, but I do
America
remember you
finally
saying.
got Thor's hammer.
Oh, well, yeah.
We'll get to that. But
That's
You
a
really,
payoff.
this is the ultimate, maybe the most I've ever been in a movie where I completely lost myself or any sense of reality outside of that screen.
100%. It does not.
I
when
didn't know what time it was. I didn't know what day it was. I didn't know
Yeah,
what
and
anything.
that's what I was going to bring up is about everybody was complaining about, oh, it's going to be 3 hours. Like, how am I going to be able to sit through a 3 hour
the
show?
blink of an eye.
It literally never felt like 3 hours. I didn't know how long it was. I didn't know where we were at. I didn't care. Like, I didn't feel like I was even sitting in a seat. I was just surrounded by
I felt like it was in the
Endgame.
movie.
Yeah.
And just it was around you and you were just in it.
Right, because you just had to take it in.
Yeah.
And it was a spectacle. Like this, it is what it is. You can't not be so engrossed in this movie. I'm sure if you wait to watch it at home, it's going to have a different effect.
It won't be
than
the
watching
same
it
at
in
home,
the
maybe,
theaters.
but I went to see it a second time 2 days later.
Yeah.
It was better the second time.
Okay.
It's hard to say because I walked out of that movie and I said, that might be the best movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And, is that a strong statement? Of course. But it's up there. And the second time I saw it, I thought it was even better.
That's
And I
unbelievable.
wasn't for a second bored, and I was still, the same beats
Right.
were making me almost get up out of my chair.
Right.
The one thing I will say, and maybe we can get to this later in a whole different discussion, because once you go through, well, we'll get to that because I want to bring up that point later. But anyway, through the whole time heist, which is basically Act 2 of this movie.
And I like how they call it a
I
time
love it.
heist.
That's the fun part of the movie, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the very fact, this is what's insanely genius about this movie, is this isn't just the end of a 22 movie long connected universe saga.
No.
It's what do you call that when it's like
Time heist?
yeah, no. When you're paying homage to something. Like
Oh,
it's a tribute. Well, not a tribute, but
No,
you know the word I'm looking for.
I think so. I'm trying to think of it. It's
Maybe it's just homage.
homage. Yes, it's an homage.
And they do that through these masterful scenes of these characters going back to their previous movies.
Yeah.
And
they talk about Thor the Dark World, and they make you want to see Thor the Dark World all over again.
and they're going back to the Avengers movie, and they're going back to all these places that we've already explored, and they're showing you the character growth in those scenes, and they're paying homage to everything they've been through and everything you've been through as a viewer. It's incredibly genius, the mechanism by which they did that. They didn't have to do it that way,
Yeah.
but they did. And that whole way through there, they're just giving you these amazing scenes. Like I really loved what the Hulk was with the Ancient One or whatever in New York when he gets the time stone.
yeah.
I love that whole scene.
Yeah, and she punches him out of his body, and then they have an actual conversation.
When you get Captain America in that elevator.
Well, wait. Then she says, because he says Doctor Strange gave up this stone to Thanos. He's like, and I need to get it back. And she looks at him and she's like, wait a minute. She's like, Strange gave this up. He's like, he knows something that I don't know. Okay, you can have it. And she immediately knew this guy's going to be more powerful than me, even though at this moment he's still just a surgeon. I know he's going to be more powerful than me, and he has a plan for this. It's the right plan. I'm going to give it to you.
Right.
And that part to me, I was like, whoa. It was mind blowing that she knew okay, he's doing the right thing because I know how powerful
she didn't even know him. I mean,
she just knew
he's 27 down the blocks doing surgery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But she knew that
she knew that he's the best of them.
Yes.
And we're not talking now.
No.
We're talking about 20 years from now, he's the best of them.
Yeah.
Because he's just getting started being Doctor
See
Strange.
how that shit to me is crazy.
So that's deep.
to
but
watch.
That scene in the elevator with Captain America.
Yes.
When
he's with the Hydra agents.
He's with the Hydra agents. It's super tense. And they
have the
could just
staff.
have a beat up scene there. That's incredible.
Well, you think it's going to be the exact same scene from what's it from?
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, and
No, it's not. It's must be from Avengers.
No, it's from the first. Isn't it from the first Captain America movie?
I can't
because
remember.
the Red Skull's involved.
I don't remember, but
yeah, it's from the first because they're all Hydra agents in the first movie.
No. They do that exact scene in another movie where he's in the elevator.
I know.
Well, it's not from First Avenger.
You don't think so?
Because they have the Loki stick.
The Loki staff, yeah.
That's from Avengers. It must be.
Okay. Either way,
anyway,
he's
then
back
he just
in there.
turns and says, "Hail Hydra." I
Yeah.
mean, incredible fan service.
Yes.
Right.
Big time.
And then they don't do that whole scene. It's very tense. And they have that great fight between himself and himself.
And that's the thing. Like you feel
that's America's
okay,
ass.
now they're gonna fight him again, but then they go a completely different route and they don't have to because you
Right.
already know what's gonna happen. I feel like that
But
in
then,
itself
and it also shows the growth of Captain America because
Yeah.
he's fighting that naive version of himself from earlier.
Yes.
You know, the language
Yeah.
version of himself.
Yes.
And he's now, oh, God damn it.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't say that, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
That is America's ass.
Yeah,
you
that
know what I
that
mean?
part is funny. That is America's ass.
But then they go, I liked it even when they went deeper, when they went back to the 1960s or 70s, whenever that was. And that gives you, I think, one of the best scenes in the movie. And that's the scene with Tony and his dad.
yes.
Which is, again, and I'm paraphrasing or stealing a little from Kevin Smith, but he's right on the nose when he says, you know, Kevin Smith says, if I were to write that scene, he'd be blubbering and crying and saying, "I love you, Dad," and blah,
Yes.
blah, blah.
Yep.
He goes, "But you guys are so much better at this than I am." And he's like, you know, you do it, you know, he, in his own Tony Stark, Howard Stark way,
Yep.
that is concealing, but yet revealing.
Yeah. He gets
I just made that up, by the way.
concealing yet revealing.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, like concealing their emotions to the point. It's just very on point for that character.
Yeah.
And it also, it ties up, again, so much.
A loop. The end game of this movie is that there is like father son, mother son.
Yeah,
like
that's it. That's what this movie's about.
It's like parental closure.
Fathers and
basically.
sons and mothers and sons.
And it's being okay with where you're at. It's being okay with what you've done. It's literally just them being able to go back and say, like, you know, basically, like, I love you. Thank you for everything in their own little
But
ways.
even
like
deeper
Thor
than that,
gets to do the same thing with his mom.
right. And then, you know, Tony and his daughter. That's what this movie
Yes.
is about.
And
it's
then it
about
builds off of
fathers
that.
and sons
Yeah.
and mothers and sons.
It
It's great.
absolutely is. And he gets to do that, and then you get to find it, and then you get to hear him call the guy driving this car Jarvis.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you just assume that's from the comic books where Jarvis, you know,
It's from
was,
the show Agent Peggy Carter.
and I didn't know that either
didn't
until
either.
recently that he was in the show Agents of Shield. I thought was he in Shield?
I know. I watched all of that. No, it's from Peggy Carter.
Oh, okay,
Short-lived show.
yeah,
But they give you this scene where Steve goes back and sees Peggy Carter in her office.
yes,
Which is, again, you don't realize
like through windows.
you realize that you're like, oh, that's a cool callback to
Mm-hmm.
the first Avenger, but you don't even realize what's coming.
Right.
Where that's a little bit of foreshadowing and backshadowing, which is amazing.
All in one.
So that's a great scene. And then they do the same thing, obviously, with Thor going back, and
On the day his mom dies.
he does have you didn't care. You said you didn't like that part that much. I thought the whole exchange between him and his mother was incredible.
Oh no, that part I like. I'm saying just the fat Thor in general.
Oh yeah.
That-
I love
that
when he
part
gets
is great.
Mjolnir back and I'm still worthy.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, with the whole you were talking about PTSD, but he didn't feel like he was
doesn't-
worthy
yeah,
at
no,
all
not at
anymore. Like, I'm not worthy enough to have any of this stuff, and that's why when he got rid of, or when Mjolnir was taken from him, basically, or broken, it was broken from
By his sister.
But when he got it back, he was like, "Holy cow! I can still hold this thing. I am still worthy," and it like rejuvenates him basically. Which is awesome.
And then they take you to the last stone. Well, first of all, they get the great Guardians of the Galaxy callback. They bring back Chris Pratt dancing.
Yes.
But then they just knock him out.
Yeah.
And they get the stone there. You know, it got a little into the weeds with the whole nebula projection,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I thought that
And
was
how they can connect with each other somehow.
whatever. That was one of those things. Was like, that was one part of the movie to me. That seemed like exposition to explain how they could set up a really cool end fight scene.
Yep.
And to me, it was just like a little bit like, no, okay. That was my least favorite part of the movie. But
I agree. I do feel like it is it was the easiest
device.
way.
It's a device.
The easiest device to get Thanos back at the end somehow. So, one way or another, was the easiest way for him to do that. But and like how they can connect or talk to each other like through the dimensions, because they were like
Right.
they knew where each other were at somehow. I don't know how that works, but then again, I don't know how cyborgs work. So,
well, then they give you one of the best scenes, and if you listen to the writers, Marcus and McFeely, talk about this, they want you to know that when you get to Vormir, you just feel dread because you know what's going to happen.
Right.
And I honestly, I did know what was. I didn't think about it until the moment.
Okay.
But once you see that planet,
yeah,
and you're like, oh shit. But what a way to make two kind of periphery characters so important. And they say that it was really funny because when they were figuring out the time heist, they're like, well, we knew it had to be those two.
Right.
And it was solely because, they go, well, you're not going to send Captain America and Rocket. They don't love each other. They don't even know each other.
Yeah.
And they even do a little callback on the ship on the way to Vormir where they say, this isn't, what is it, Beirut or whatever?
Yes.
Something like that.
This isn't Beirut.
I mean, they have a long history that they love each other. Obviously not romantically, but they love each other.
Yeah.
And they might have.
Maybe in Beirut.
Yeah. So when they get to that whole scene, and it's back and forth, and I love that little flippant, the Red Skull's floating there. They're trying to make a decision. They've gone away, they've come back, they've gone away, they've come back. And they're talking, and the Red Skull's kind of floating in the background, and Hawkeye just looks at him and goes, what's up? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. But they were fighting for a long time on who should give up their life, basically, and why they need to give up their life.
Did you have any idea? Did you see that coming?
Of them two? No, not in the slightest. I didn't even see her doing what she did, really. I didn't see her dying in the movie at all.
Did you, when they got to that planet, did you realize that one of them was going to die? Did that cross your mind? Or had you kind of forgotten about that from
No, I mean, I knew a soul for a soul, but I didn't think it would take effect in that situation, to be honest. I thought since it is a time heist,
figure out a way around it.
I thought they'd just be able to like snag it and leave. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think it was
I
the
knew
same.
As soon as I didn't think about it, but as soon as they got that planet, I go, it's a soul for a soul, man. One of them. This is it. That's why they sent these two.
I knew it was a soul for a soul.
But they didn't know that going in. None of the characters knew that.
Nope. But the only people to know that was Thanos and Gamora.
Right.
By that time, And then that's the thing. So Gamora loses her life in that.
She doesn't know it, actually.
And, well, not anymore, no. Right. Because, so Gamora doesn't come back.
Right.
She never comes back.
Right.
But she does.
Right. And that's what, it's going to be interesting. I didn't see, honestly, I kind of thought, I was back and forth. I'm like, they're not going to kill Hawkeye because he's got a family. But I'm like, but they're going to kill Hawkeye because he's a much less important character. Plus, they set it up like he'd become so awful.
Yes.
Although I don't really consider what he was doing awful.
Well, no, I don't think it was either. But he acts like it was. Right. He feels like it was.
So they set that up. But then they went the other way.
Yeah.
And it was a powerful moment when she was laying there dead.
Yeah, and they just show her there laying in her own blood dead.
But not as powerful as the next moment when they all warp back with their stones and you see the look
on Hulk's face.
On just all of them. First of all, on Jeremy Renner's face.
Yeah.
And then as they all
realize.
Where's Natasha, right?
Yeah.
Where's Natasha? And then it just sets in. And that was a really crazy moment.
So you have that really heavy moment, but they get back into the movie pretty quickly. And then you don't really hear about it or talk about it or think about her dying until it gets back. So Hulk ends up putting on the gauntlet.
And we talked about that incredible moment.
Right. He's like, I feel like I was made for this. He ends up putting the gauntlet on. It burns him up pretty good too and beats him up pretty bad.
And that's a by the way, That's specifically why you don't see much more of him later on in the battle scenes and stuff.
Right.
Was because that was their idea. Was he was pretty severely injured.
Yeah, and he's in it like a sling at the end of the movie,
Because
like
that's
his arms.
that's about it for the Hulk for the movie.
Yeah, basically.
You
He's
know?
basically done after that. He doesn't really do anything after that. But he snaps his fingers, thinking about bringing everyone back, and he is successful. They don't really like give it away, like everyone just appears.
I think they did it in a really cool way.
Yeah, like
He gets a phone call.
Yeah, and Ant-Man goes out to the window and he's like looking around.
Sees the birds.
He sees a bunch of birds and like things look different. And then Hawkeye gets a phone call from his wife wondering where he's at. And he starts, getting choked up like, yep, I'm here. I'm fine. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, boom,
the
whole place.
Of course, don't see coming either. It's just it gets.
But what I was going to say is, so after that, Hulk is standing there and he's like, I tried to bring her back.
Right.
Like I was thinking about her so much, talking about Natasha. He's like, I thought about her. I was trying to bring her back so bad.
Yeah.
And you couldn't because.
But in case you guys didn't know, there is a Black Widow movie coming out.
I thought it was a TV show.
No, there's a movie. So are they going to make it a prequel or are they going to bring her back somehow?
It's going to be a prequel. I don't think so.
I don't see how they can do this and then go back and make a prequel. That seems like such regression.
I would agree with you, but in a way, but you can't. You can't go back. You can't bring her back now because you didn't bring Gamora back.
But here's the difference, Jerry. Captain America returned the stone.
I know, but it's not
a soul for a soul.
It doesn't say a stone for a soul.
No, it's the soul stone.
Well, I know that, but
that's what they say, a soul for the soul stone. He returns the soul stone. Do you get the soul back? It's possible.
Yeah, I guess that's the only explanation.
Can you imagine a world, though? And first of all, there's a couple little points to this. So by all accounts, you would think the Red Skull is relieved of his oppression.
Right.
There. So he's back in the mix, potentially.
Could be.
Do you see a situation? I would be interested to see, and I don't think they fleshed it out. Actually, they were asked this directly, and they're like, we didn't really put any thought into it, but Captain America is not giving a stone back to
the Red Skull.
The Red Skull. It ain't going to happen. So I don't know what that whole exchange was like, but it'd be interesting to find out.
But he was
supposed
to put it all back together.
How does he get the ether back into Natalie Portman?
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I heard him say that too. How does he get that back into her? That'd be interesting to watch. That's a whole different movie that isn't for children.
Yeah, but anyway, and this is still Act 2 in this movie.
Yeah,
because then it's the Thanos destruction, and then there's the beginning of the war.
Yeah,
times 2 with some of the most incredible moments of the movie.
Right. So you get to see. So Thanos finds out that they're doing this, right?
Yeah. Through a convoluted series of events.
Yeah. So explain that again. So I've only seen this the one time.
Okay.
I haven't seen it again.
So Nebula, past Nebula, who's still with Thanos.
Yes.
And desperate for his approval, relays a message from current Nebula while they're in the same timeline because she's getting the stone on whatever the name of that planet is.
That's right. She is connected to her and he, feels her memory or feels
she projects it out of her eye. She projects.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Nebula and Rhodey talking about something, and he's like, well, we got to get there. We got to get her and scan her memory.
Yeah.
So they go get the stone. They get ready to jump, and all of a sudden she gets schizoid out or whatever.
Right.
She runs back to her ship, tries to call Hawkeye and Black Widow to warn them, and they beam her up on the ship. From there, they basically dismantle her and get all of her memories.
Yes.
So they know exactly what's going on, or Thanos does. And they use her PIM particles, essentially, to jump into the current timeline. And they swap her out for the old Nebula.
Yeah, they replace
so she comes back
of her.
in as a, old Nebula back to the current time. They don't really know what's going on. She hijacks the machine
Yes.
in the current time to bring Thanos back.
Yep.
So that's how that works.
And in the meantime, you also find out Gamora is still with Thanos and with Nebula. This is before she ever left and decided to be with, all of the Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff. This is like predating any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
She's already got the long con plot
yes.
to destroy Thanos.
Absolutely.
She's
does.
working for him, but she's obviously
and
not
she's
on board with
definitely starting to see like why she definitely needs to do that, why she needs to leave Thanos, why she needs to get away from him and Nebula, because of like what she sees he's done,
Right.
like getting rid of half of the universe, and she realizes like this is not good. But it's still before her and Peter Quill have a relationship whatsoever, and then Peter sees her
Yeah,
again.
they pay that off really in a really a really emotional moment that becomes pretty funny really quickly.
Right, because it's exactly what you would expect.
But the
because
look on
it is
his
what Gamora is.
face, Chris Pratt, he acts it perfectly. It does almost choke you up when he first sees her. Just the look on his face and the way he says Gamora,
Yeah, because she's dead.
But then they pay off the comedy just perfectly.
He goes up and grabs her, and he immediately like, what'd she do? Punch him or slap him?
She
or
kicks him
something?
in the balls.
Oh,
twice.
that's right.
You missed the first time. You got them both the same time.
Yeah.
So anyway, that brings into that whole next sequence of the fight scene, which I think we can really break down. I love when it's Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor right there, and they're just like, okay, we're going to take on Thanos. And in your mind, you're going like, well, Thanos is fucked. He doesn't have the stones.
There's no way. And so,
but you don't realize how powerful Thanos is, because you got it in your mind from earlier when they easily handled him, but he was also severely disabled.
Well, I've also got it in my mind that they could easily handle him in the comic books.
Well, but Thor was not up to the top-notch Thor.
Right, he's not.
And Captain America and Iron Man are no match for Thanos, probably.
But I mean, Captain America with Mjolnir?
Well, it pays off a great scene. So they have a fantastic fight scene. Essentially, Thanos basically is winning. Thor's got him kind of pinned down. And then all of a sudden...
Well, Thanos has Thor pinned down and starts pushing Stormbreaker into his chest. And he's doing it slow, like real slow, pushing it into his chest.
Yeah. And then that's when Mjolnir flies in.
Yeah.
And off screen knocks him off, and then it flies into Captain America's hand, and it's just an amazing moment.
It's probably the best single scene of the movie, I think. Like where it gives you
the whole place was cheering.
So many different feels of like, oh my gosh.
And then Thor has the great line like, "I knew it."
Yeah, is it I knew it or he is worthy?
I knew it was. It was something like that, because it pays off the moment in Ultron. When Captain America is able to move it.
He like makes it shake a little bit, right?
Yeah. So that was a great moment. And then, Captain America's basically got him on the ropes. You're like, okay, this is going in the right direction. But then it turns very quickly.
Really bad.
And then basically everybody's done. It's Captain America. That's where I thought they were going to kill him.
That's exactly where I thought Captain America was dying, because when he's just slamming, like punching him in the chest and up against his...
breaks the...
Yeah, his shield. It's just busting up his shield.
Pretty unbreakable, that shield.
Yeah, I don't think that would have happened. No. But he's busting up his shield, just pounding him literally into the dirt. And you assume, like, this is it. This is where he's dead. But...
Well, then he gets back up, and there's a beautiful moment where Thanos brings out all his armies, right?
Yeah.
And it's only Captain America.
Yep.
And Captain America is like, this is perfect for the character. He stands up and he's just like, this is it. I will face them all
by myself
and die.
Yeah.
And, and then I think that's when you get the best moment.
Yeah, this is the best moment of the movie.
You just hear it on your left. Another payoff to Winter Soldier.
Yep.
And that's when
it's Falcon. Falcon says on your left.
All the heroes show up, and it's just...
Well, you start seeing those spinny rings from Doctor Strange. All the little spinny rings appear on his left, and people start walking out. There's like Spider-Man walks out, Doctor Strange walks out. All of them start walking out of these little spinny circles, and coming behind them, Black Panther's there. They're all there, And he's like, where did you guys come from? You know,
Yeah.
like what's happening?
Then they go into their kind of zany flea flicker chase scene,
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
which was fun. It's all fun. And then, it's great when Captain Marvel finally shows up.
Yeah.
And remember when Thanos tries to headbutt her and it just doesn't do anything.
yes.
But she gets handled pretty easily, which I really I liked. I liked they didn't make her
Overpowered, yes.
But, and Scarlet Witch is handling him easily, but he's always able to pull something off, which is fine. They have that great moment, too, with Giant Man where he comes out and just takes down the...
That's the thing. Is like, couldn't Giant Man just like go over there and squish him?
Yeah, I would think so.
Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Like you could just walk through all of those people and bad guys and just step on them?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Where was he?
Well, he was trying to open the portal in the van
That's right.
to get the stones out of there. That's when Hulk's like, we got to return the stones to their timelines.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to destroy them, but he's like, you
yep.
can't. We got to take them to this timeline, find the van, whatever. A little convoluted here and there story stuff, but great scene.
There's so much involved that you're bound to run into that somewhere. None of it takes away from the movie.
Not at all.
The way we're speaking of it now is just like thinking back, like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that might be a little shaky. But by the way, nobody that you know of or are going to ever be around in your life can probably write this well. So, it is what it is.
They lost count at 40 drafts.
Is that right?
Yep. They were writing this movie up through
wouldn't
filming.
Wouldn't you love to see some of those drafts, like see what they came up with?
For 2 years, they took this script into a room with a group of people and put line by line on a projector screen and just broke it down and just rewrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it. Yeah, for 2 years, 12 hours a day.
Wow. Talk about being
crazy.
Sick of a movie. I bet you they're so sick of that.
He said they wrote so many stories and so many arcs and so many lines that they just threw out. 40 pages here, gone. 15 pages here, gone. Just they rewrote and wrote and rewrote and wrote over and over and over again.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's insane.
Awesome.
And you can tell.
I was just going to say, and you know what you get out of it? A perfect movie.
And they do this
like
with all of them, by the way. All of these Marvel movies. It's not just that. This is their strategy. This is the Kevin Feige of it all.
But this one out of all of them is 99.99% perfect.
Yeah, it's incredible.
You're just not going to find it better. So all of them show back up.
Yeah.
And what happens?
Then that's when you get the great scene with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And you really think she's going to kind of get the best of it, but she gets tossed aside. And then you get the Doctor Strange pointing at Tony Stark.
Oh, yes. This part.
One.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't tell him earlier that this is the one. And that's what he knows.
I forgot about that.
That's when Tony knows. He goes, this is it for me.
Yep.
And he gets the stones.
So a little bit of backstory to that, because Doctor Strange has seen... He worked through, what is it, like
millions? It was millions,
hundreds of millions of different sequences in his mind, going over, what's going to happen. And they reference earlier, like, this better be. I think it was Tony that talks to him and said, "Is this the one? Like, is this going to be it? Like, this better be the one that we win, because it has to be. Like, this has to be the one we win. I can't do this." And then they keep fighting, and that's where they reference that, is that he looks over at him and he just holds up a finger, one. And yeah, like you said, Tony then realizes, like, I have to do this. And he's fighting Thanos during this time.
Yeah.
And you see him fighting. Thanos has all of the stones in his gauntlet. He's literally flew over and stopped his hand from...
Yeah, and that's what Captain Marvel was doing, keeping him...
That's right, keeping him from doing it all over again. Snapping his finger. And so they stop him, and then Tony comes up and is doing the same thing, but in the process of fighting him, so he throws Tony off to the side. But you had seen Tony grabbing his hand in his gauntlet, right? And then he throws him off to the side, and then Thanos brings up his hand and he says, "I am inevitable."
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because earlier he says,
it's a callback.
This is inevitable that this would happen. This was the very first scene when they cut his head off.
It's future Thanos.
Right.
So that's what makes it kind of cool.
And then he says, I am an inevitable. And then he clicks his fingers.
I didn't see it coming, by the way. I thought that click was going to be like, fuck.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was going to reset things. But anyway, clicks his fingers. Nothing happens. And then he turns the gauntlet around and you don't see any stones in it at all. They're all gone. And then it flashes over to Tony and he's got him in his own gauntlet on his own hand.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what he says. He
I
says
am Iron Man.
That's it.
An
right there.
amazing callback again.
Yeah.
Genius.
And he's got all the stones
And
in his
you
own
think
gauntlet.
that could come off so corny, right? But it doesn't. It pays off.
You would assume saying something like that, I am Iron Man.
But it works so phenomenally. And you just, when he says it, the theater cheered.
Yes, everybody did. And there was no hesitation after he said, I am Iron Man, to click his fingers immediately.
That's the next great thing is all the Thanos and all his army start disappearing, but they don't. It's not immediate. You know, they get this great scene where he just kind of lumbers over and sits down and looks up into
his
the
army
sky.
starts dying off.
Yeah,
He
and
sits
that's his
there.
moment of inevitability. I mean, he just looks up and he doesn't even say a word.
No.
He just starts to disintegrate. It's
So-
great. It's a great scene.
And I brought this up after the movie because of that scene. Like in a lot of the things Thanos does throughout the movie, but that scene, yeah, he looks up at the sky and then he just kind of like hangs his head down. He just slowly looks down at the ground and he fades away.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you don't see Josh Brolin in this movie, that dude can act,
Oh, yeah.
man.
He's
He's
incredible.
acting his ass off as a CGI character. And think about that. That guy's like, he's got these white balls all over, like
Right.
tennis balls or like golf balls all over him, acting with these people. And he's acting his ass off during this stuff. And he's doing it so well. Like he is Thanos in those moments. And it's incredible acting. I can't even like speak thinking about what he's done as that character. In the first Infinity War, he's very good. I think it's a very good character, but this movie brought that dude to life because he truly believed into what he was doing. Like when he kept saying, he didn't keep saying it, he only said it twice, but I am inevitable. Like I am going to achieve this because it is the right thing.
Oh, I forgot about
destined
there's
to
an
do it.
earlier scene with him earlier, and I think this is great. And I listened to some commentary on this afterwards that was a little more political than I would like, but they were talking about basically that scene where Thanos he's saying he goes, I thought that wiping out half of the people, like he thought he had a purpose and that was righteous, right?
Yeah.
And they bring up the fact, and then he goes like, obviously it's not going to work, so I'm just going to start over. I'm going to kill everybody and start over with a new universe.
Yes.
I love that scene. But they did bring up some really good points. They're like, this is the definition of a tyrannical dictator or government or anything. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, you can wipe out half the universe and you think that's going to solve your resources problem. But then when that doesn't work, it always leads to the next step and the next step and the next step. And inevitably it leads to somebody saying, okay, let's scratch it all and start over. And, you know, we've seen that in history over and over again.
For sure.
But I thought that was an interesting commentary. They were kind of going with the fact that the whole run of these Marvel, and this is maybe better for the end of this discussion, but this whole run really has a set of values that's good, you know,
Oh, for sure.
and you know, values. Not only they're family friendly movies and
Yeah.
the good guys win and everything, but they each movie in its own right establishes positive values, and then the overarching story establishes a positive values. It's just a rare thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the whole side because Tony just snapped them all out of existence, and then you just get left with one of the most powerful scenes of his death.
Big time. So everyone's gone.
Just first of all, he talks to Spider-Man, which is incredible.
That to me is like the most powerful is when, because it flips the script there again from Infinity War to Endgame. Infinity War, Tony's seeing Peter Parker like vanish.
Yeah.
And Peter's like, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark. I don't
And
want
none
to
of
go.
that works without the setup, amazing setup in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah. And so the next day after we saw Endgame, I was at home and Amy wanted to watch Homecoming. She had seen it before, but she wanted to watch it again. The boys wanted to watch it. So we put it on and I wasn't thinking anything of it. I was like, yeah, I love this movie and Michael Keaton's so great. And then I start watching it when he's in the car with Tony and they're talking back and forth. I was like, wow, this hurts a lot more than I thought it would.
They set up this relationship in the span of, I wouldn't even call it in minutes. I mean, how many minutes in that movie and how many minutes in Infinity War? 20 total minutes.
Yeah, probably 20.
But they set up this incredibly deep and powerful relationship. And then it's a very poignant moment. And then
I think that's what starts setting up Tony, like not being selfish anymore.
well,
You know what I mean?
if you remember one of the reasons, remember he has that scene in his kitchen where he looks at the picture of Peter Parker and him.
Yeah, absolutely. In Endgame.
And, you know,
That's what makes him change his mind.
and there's also, the whole scene where he comes back from space and he's like angry.
He's super mad.
And then he says something like off kilter, like, we lost a kid or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's also a great scene with him and Captain America when he pulls back up after he defeats after the time travel, after he figures it out. And he, says like, I just want to put these grudges aside.
Yeah.
Like I can't live with it anymore. That was a good scene between them two.
Absolutely.
Their relationship and everything. I think.
Well, that's when he comes back to like Avengers headquarters, right? And then gives him his shield.
Yeah.
Gives
it's a good scene.
Yeah, Captain America's shield.
Guys,
back.
this is still Act 2, by the way. We're still talking about Act 2.
Yeah.
Because this is the beginning. Tony's death, which he has a great...
Well, no, we already went into Act 3 because we talked about him
I think
dying.
That's the beginning of Act 3 of this movie.
Tony Stark dying?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't think so.
It's
got to be that's towards the end.
He's got a great scene with Pepper Potts where I love when first of all, the writers were talking about, they had a bunch of dialogue for Tony Stark at the end there when he was dying.
Really?
And,
I'm so glad
Robert
they got
Downey
rid of it.
Jr. was the one that said, no, I'm not going to talk.
Yeah.
And that made it so powerful.
It was big time because he was always full of words. Tony, in every movie, had everything to say. He was always the guy that had the last word and everything, or he was always the smartest in some way, shape, or form, or just being, Tony Stark, arrogant.
Yeah.
The only way he could go out is not saying anything. Like, of course, he's just...
And then they have that scene like
done.
His arc is complete and Pepper says to him, you can go now.
Yeah.
And then he just dies.
Amy was asking me if anybody teared up, and I was like, listen, I don't want to talk about it, but this is the only time I've ever sat next to 3 adult men for 3 hours and never spoke a word to each other and cried next to them.
I will say after that moment, and this is what I was going to say earlier. So after that moment and through the following scenes, which we'll talk about next in the third act or the last act of the movie, it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room.
Big time.
Not just for me personally,
The whole room.
place. And I remember like you're just staring and just your face is drooping and you're just like, it felt like you feel when you get horrible news.
Yeah.
Like about somebody that you care about that's passed away or
Yeah.
something tragic. I mean, obviously, okay.
We know it's a movie.
I know it's a movie, and maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it was that. To a lesser extent, it was that. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room.
But like we had said before, in that moment, this was the reality of the of
you
the
were
moment.
so in it, man.
You're so in that
the movie took you for that ride, and it made you feel that emotion.
And that's what storytelling is. That's what make believe is that escape. It's escapism. You get out of your realm. That's why a lot of people that feel like different than other people or whatever gravitate to these movies or gravitate to comic books because it's a way for them to escape and live somewhere else for that moment, right?
Well, and not only the fact that you've been living with this for 10 years, and 22 movies, and for us, a lifetime of comic books.
Absolutely.
So that pays off for us on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But that moment of that that feeling of the air sucked out of the room and just intense quiet.
Yeah.
That persisted through the rest of the movie, by the way, like for another
Everything.
45 minutes.
It was the most silent movie after that point that I think you'll ever sit in.
And
like
but
for
you
the
could,
crowd.
yeah, I'm not even talking about just the noise. Like you could feel it in the air of that theater. So I thought that was incredible. But the second time when I went back, it was different. And that time I was like crying at every one of those moments. The first time I really wasn't, because you're so in shock. You're almost like,
You don't know what to do.
it's hard to even feel. You feel so much loss.
Yeah.
And not from the character dying. That's the moment when you realize that like you feel the loss of it all ending.
Yeah.
The whole franchise. And you're like, you're never going to get this again.
We aren't.
And that's when I started feeling like, I'm like, we're never going to get anything like that. And by the way, you didn't walk out of that movie. I walked out of that movie depressed because I'm like, this is it. This is the end. It's never going to happen again. But not feeling unsatisfied, not feeling like there was anything left on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it was all paid off. It was all left on the table. I was completely paid off on it. But you did. I remember we said it when we walked on. I kind of just feel like heavy depression.
Yeah, we all did. We got back in the car and we're like, whoa. Like it was so good, but it's done.
Yeah.
Like
It's a weird feeling.
It was a weird feeling.
Because like you said, like now granted, I'm 35, but these movies have been out for 10, 11 years now. So, you know, you've lived with them for a long time.
Yes, that is a huge, it's the biggest portion of any characters we've ever lived with. You know what I mean? Like I've never lived with a character longer than this.
Exception maybe of Star Wars.
Yes, but
because I was so into the games and the books and, you know, everything.
But in like consecutive order with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was a big gap there.
A couple of years. I mean, a couple movies a year.
Most of us thought Star Wars was over a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Several times.
Yeah. That's why that's a little bit different, because it was gone for a long time and you thought it was over, then it came back and then it was gone. Like, so this is different because it was continuous from 2008 until now. And
like
it
I
was
said, like
one
2 movies
big
a year
story.
But anyway, we got the whole end of the movie to talk about, which is incredible. So you get the whole funeral scene, which is great. It immediately goes into that great scene where he's the hologram of himself with the goodbye message to his daughter and all that stuff.
Yep.
It's great in the funeral scene. And then I feel like I'm forgetting stuff because
you realize with that goodbye message that he recorded that right after he figured out
the time travel.
Yeah. He figured out the time travel on how to do that, and he knew, like, I'm going to record this because I'm most likely not going to come back from this fight.
They basically pay off each character or wrap up every storyline. They do the Guardians of the Well. Not a lot to do here for the Guardians of the Galaxy, except for Rocket.
Which is fine.
They have a really great scene with Thor and Valkyrie, and then Thor with the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
it's great.
That scene's really good about figuring out who's in charge.
That's great comedy. I can't even remember all the other storylines that they paid off, but you know, obviously the big thing we're going towards here is the very ending when they send Captain America back to put the stones all back. He misses his mark, and then
he was only supposed to be gone for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, you take as long as you need to put all these stones back. You know, do whatever you got to do, but he's going to be back in about 5 seconds for us. Yeah. And Hulk is standing there. He's like, they send him off, and he's like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nothing happens. He's like, he missed his mark. Where'd he go? And then they're like waiting and looking around, and then all of a sudden they see a guy.
What I thought was skinny young Steve Rogers.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought he didn't take the super soldier serum.
Or something, yeah.
And it's just this old skinny guy over there, and you're going to realize that's who it is.
I thought it was going to be young, skinny.
Okay.
But anyway, no, it was old Captain America. They gave him a great scene. You know, at that moment, I'm like, who's getting the shield? because I knew somebody was
Well,
getting it.
Falcon goes over to talk to him.
I know, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be Winter Soldier
No,
or
I know.
Bucky or Falcon.
I assumed it would be Bucky. I did.
I did too.
I thought
it would be
I
too.
thought
Makes
Bucky was
more
gonna get
sense
it.
for it to be Falcon though, because it's pretty established in the comics.
Yeah.
But that is a phenomenal scene, and that's again one. The first viewing, you're still so in shock.
You are. Yeah.
The second time around, you are really a little more able to appreciate it, and it was very much more emotional. I was definitely tearing up at that scene.
Yeah.
A great scene, and then you realize like he's gone back and lived his life. And that's what I'm talking about. This complete character arc of Captain America, where his and Tony Stark's character arcs intersected.
Because of what he says.
Beautiful.
He says he asks him about Peggy. He's like, how was she? And he's like,
I don't think I'll tell you.
I'm gonna keep that one to myself.
That was his straight up voice, by the way. There was no modulation on his voice.
Really?
Chris Evans did that
He
old
just
man voice.
Spoke that way?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
I did like it brings up all these questions because in whatever the movie is where Peggy Carter is dying,
He gets married.
she's married, but you realize they never show who she's married to.
Yeah. Did you listen to Fat Man on Batman?
Oh, yeah.
Or Fat Man Beyond, where they talked about that?
Yeah.
That's a really good thought.
I think it is. I think that's the case. I think she was married to him.
So yeah, when Peggy's dying and Captain America comes back after he was frozen and sees her for the last time dying, and she's got like dementia and stuff. They have said, she's not really with it, and she starts talking about her husband, and she was married, and he gets really like not necessarily sad, but like, yeah, of course you've lived a life. I've been gone for so long, but in reality, it could have been him.
Well, I know, and she says, "Oh, Steve, you look so young."
Yes.
But they didn't know this was going to happen.
But did they?
No.
Gosh.
They did not.
How could
Definitively, they did not know any of this was going to happen when they wrote that movie.
That's incredible.
But it feels like they must have because they didn't show any pictures.
Exactly.
They didn't show any, but I don't think they did.
Either way, I'm going to tie it back like that.
I'm glad they didn't kill off his character like everybody thought they was. Like I 100% thought they were.
This is the payoff he needed.
They gave him that payoff. And they ended the movie with him in the 1950s dancing with her, which was my only gripe after that movie. I'm like, I wish they wouldn't have just ended. I wish they wouldn't have ended it on that scene.
I don't know. I feel like it was the writers paying off their character.
Yeah.
And that's the way they wanted to end it.
But I don't think we needed that last scene.
We didn't, but they did.
I guess.
But
I mean, incredible. And then the end credits.
Yeah, where they get all their signatures,
which is they did apparently in the Star Trek movie.
Yep. Yeah, Star
but
Trek 6.
even that was so powerful. Just the credit scene, the end credit scene.
Yeah, just watching that is what really also makes it sink in. Like, these guys are done. Like, this is over.
Yeah, and we'll see. I think we'll see Thor back. I think we'll see Hulk back. We're obviously going to see Black Widow in some form.
Yes.
I think we'll see Hawkeye again, which is great. I mean, at this point, and that's all great. We're not going to see. We'll probably see another Iron Man. We're definitely going to see another Captain America. It's not going to be Chris Evans. It'll be Falcon. We'll still see those characters.
You think we'll see another Captain or another Iron Man?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, come on. This is $1 billion. Now at this point, over $20 billion.
They're not going to be a main character, though. I don't think we'll see another Iron Man movie, like solo movie.
We'll see how popular whoever the character is they bring in. I did like little payoffs, though, like giving Pepper Potts the rescue armor, which is from the comics, that nobody would catch.
Right.
Oh, the great scene with Jon Favreau, who started all this with his daughter, the hamburgers.
Yeah, she says.
So that was another one that didn't really hit me that emotionally the first time I saw it.
No,
but the second time I saw it, oh man.
Well, I haven't seen it a second time. I've only heard. I heard them reference it, like Kevin Smith talk about it and Mark Murdern, and then I realized once they say it, like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, Tony Stark asks for cheeseburgers as soon as he's rescued from
until I heard Kevin Smith say that, I didn't even think about that.
As soon as he's rescued from the desert, the first thing he wants is a cheeseburger.
It is amazing. The second time I saw it, I definitely those emotional beats hit me a lot harder. The first time, like I said, you're so like overwhelmed, and with that weird pit in your stomach feeling that it's hard to experience any of those emotions, because after that moment,
it's the anticipation of what the next moment will be.
Right.
So okay, this moment has happened and that's sad, but what next is going to occur that will affect you the same way? So you can't feel that emotion yet because you are so anticipating that, the next move.
There's so much in this movie. This is definitely a good one to go see twice.
Jeez.
See it the first time and then go back, and why not second time go see it in IMAX, which is what I did.
Yeah. Oh, you did see it in IMAX the second time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
It was amazing and great. But it was just as good the first time in the regular. Well, first of all, it wasn't just a regular movie theater. It was a really nice movie theater.
It is really nice.
And it wasn't,
I like that.
It wasn't an IMAX screen, but it was a larger than average regular movie theater screen. We had perfect seats right in the middle and great seats. Yeah. So the second time I did see it it wasn't IMAX. It was GDX, which is actually, it was a bigger screen than any IMAX I've been to.
If you get a chance, go to that Oswego movie theater. Anybody in the area,
go to the GDX theater with Dolby Atmos.
Yeah,
amazing. The
really
sound
good.
was incredible.
That whole theater is really, really great. I liked it a lot. So yeah, that was Avengers Endgame. I mean, it lived up to everything I ever wanted it to live up to.
I went into that movie with such high expectations, and those expectations were just shattered, even broke my wildest expectations.
Yeah. I remember you saying that night. You said it that night. You're like, I went in with like expectations that I didn't think were ever going to be able to be met. Like, you felt like you were going to be let down, but you were okay with that.
Every time I've gone to a movie with really, really high expectations, you're almost always at least a little bit let down.
In some way, shape, or form, yes.
And this is one that, like, I think maybe part of me was reserving a little bit of it because I'm like, there's no way they can make this as good as Infinity War, because Infinity War was so good.
Yeah.
And
they made it better.
It's better. I would say, would you put it number one Marvel movie?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
On your list?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've only seen it once.
I'd have to think about it. If it's not one, it's two.
Because I want to watch that movie 4 more times.
If it's not number one, it's number two, but it's probably number one for me. I still I got this thing with Guardians of the Galaxy, but
dude, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is really great.
It's so much different. This is not one movie. This is it feels like, and it is a culmination of 22 movies.
It is. It absolutely 100%
So I don't
is.
even know whether you can put it in the same category as an individual movie, because it feels like 22 movies in one.
Yeah.
It really, really does.
Yeah, it does. And they make it that way because they bring back so many of the other movies.
Now, I haven't I came out and I thought, yeah, it's hard for me to not say, but maybe this is the best movie I've ever seen. It might be. So
you're going to say it's the best movie you've ever seen, but yet you still don't want to put it as number one in your Marvel movies?
No.
It is.
Yeah, it probably is, but I just those two categories are different category. I don't know. In any case, yeah, it definitely is the best Marvel movie that's ever been made.
Agreed. Hands down. I agree.
There's no qualms about it.
So, we've talked about this for an hour and 24 minutes.
I feel like that's fitting.
It is fitting. But what it'll lead into next, and I don't know if you've seen it, is the new trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home.
Is there a new trailer?
That came out yesterday.
Oh, no, I have not seen it.
Okay. Well, you should.
Should I watch it right now?
I think you should, yes.
Okay.
And pause.
Oh, boy, does that answer a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Because there's still a lot of people floating around there before that were saying, oh, it's going to be before the snap.
Yes. And so,
I didn't think ever it was, by the way. That never even crossed my mind.
I didn't know. I mean, I would assume that it wouldn't have been.
I just don't think they would go back. And they made it kind of clear in that early thing that he was mourning something.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, absolutely, because he didn't want to wear the suit because Tony was dead. Yeah. And that's what I had originally thought. So And that is the case.
But boy, I will say that a lot there shocked me that I didn't expect.
Yes.
So the basically setting up of Spider-Man as the next lead Iron Man,
lead
of the team.
Avenger.
I hope to God they signed that guy to like 9 more movies because
Tom Holland?
He's already got 4.
Yeah.
And they're
so
usually
good.
7 movie contracts, which would be for 3 more movies is all.
Yep.
After this, but they're going to need him for
a lot more.
6 more, 7 more.
They'll need him for a lot more. But anyway, in this is the new trailer. It leads right in after Endgame into whatever Spider-Man's doing after the whole Endgame.
And I love that they're opening up a multiverse.
They talk about the multiverse. Yes,
this is incredible.
And so he's.
And
he
I wonder
Mysterio.
if there's people out there that know Mysterio's a bad guy.
That's so.
Or that don't know he's a bad guy.
Here's the thing, like Mysterio is a liar. He's an actor. He's a liar. He's a special effects guy. He's clearly lying to them.
Yeah.
About whatever's going on. The dude's involved with whatever's happening overseas. They just don't know it, but apparently they'll figure it out in the movie.
Well, will they?
I don't know.
Or is Mysterio now going to be our overarching villain?
Could be.
Because I see a world in which he is duping them all.
Yeah.
And the audience is in on it.
And blaming everyone else.
And he's building a team, probably of villains.
Yeah.
Maybe. To be the next big threat. Although, in my head, not obviously, but in my head, if they're going to go back to to what they've done, which I'm not convinced they're going to do. But this certainly seems like a tie-in type movie, which they've made it very clear that this is the last movie of Phase 3. This is the epilogue.
Okay, that I guess
they have
I didn't
said
know.
That, but so
well, maybe it will be the last one. But either way,
it doesn't matter. Phase 1 led to Phase 2, which led to Phase 3.
Exactly.
So whether or not this is the last movie of Phase 3 doesn't mean that it can't lead into Phase 4.
Yeah, and it is. It's got to be.
I don't know that Mysterio certainly is a big villain in the comics, but he seems more not like a cosmic threat.
No, but
he could be ushering in.
That's what I was gonna say. He could be like ushering in a whole new group of villains that nobody knows about, or at least trying to pry them into this world. Whether he's involved with it or not later on,
kind of like Loki.
You don't know.
Maybe he's the next Loki.
Yeah, there you go.
He could be that Loki character who is a reoccurring good guy, bad guy, villain.
Yeah,
scheming. I could see him being the next Loki.
They're playing that trailer off as trickery.
Yeah,
they're tricking you into thinking that they have to work together to fight
and
bigger.
You got to remember, they needed Loki because he was the thread.
Yeah,
that brought all this together. So maybe Mysterio is going to be the thread that brings the next threat, which would be,
I don't know.
I mean, if we're looking at their big villains, all right, the biggest and the best villain that they have under their disposal is Doctor Doom. Whether or not they'll go there or not, because it's hard to do that without introducing the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
which they could easily do.
They can do it now if they want to try to do that all over again.
Again, it's the other big bad would be Galactus.
Galactus
would be incredible. That's a Thanos level threat or bigger.
It's bigger.
Okay, it's hard to do that without bringing in the Silver Surfer, although it can be done.
Yeah.
And the Fantastic Four and stuff like that, which they can do as well.
Yeah.
So,
and Thor's still around.
But there's also hints that maybe
Captain Marvel has to come back because I guarantee you she's not done after 2 movies.
No, that movie just made $1.5 billion.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a franchise waiting to happen.
Captain Marvel's still going to be around. They could bring in a huge threat like that.
They could, or they could go with something a little more off the beaten trail. They could do Death itself. They could do the Red Skull again. They could do.
But I feel like somebody said, I don't know if it was you or somebody else that said that they were going to stay more apart, like space type movies and Earth dwelling movies, keep them separate now.
Well, they might, and then they did. They did that in the last phase.
Well,
and
they
just
did,
brought them together in Infinity
War. At the end, yeah.
So, I mean, you could do that with a. It's the same thing. You could do that with a Mysterio and then Earth-based villains that lead up to teasing a Galactus throughout, just like they teased the Thanos throughout. It's very doable.
Yeah.
Galactus would be, I mean, Doctor Doom is the biggest and most nuanced character. There's so much story there, though. Galactus would be the one, but they're also teasing an Eternals movie.
Yep.
They've kind of set up Adam Warlock.
Have they?
Oh yeah, they mention him in the last Guardians movie in the post-credit scene.
I don't remember.
Something along the line. And then they're teasing an Eternals movie. They could definitely bring in Adam Warlock, who is he's kind of a villain sometimes. He's kind of a good guy sometimes. But they could just make him a villain. They can make it more nuanced than that. So there's a lot they can do here.
There's a ton. And, there's obviously more questions than answers now because we have to wait till July.
The saddest
until that movie
thing
comes out.
of all this is that we're not going to get a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie till 2022 at the earliest. And that's 100% only because Disney is idiots.
They are idiots. And then, but it's really cool of James Gunn because
it is.
James Gunn was on Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and then he got fired.
Which we would be getting a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie this year or next if he was still
year
on.
Probably. And then he ended up getting Suicide Squad that I've talked about every single episode, and I said I wouldn't, and now I just brought it up again. But I don't have any news about it though. Besides, James Gunn brought this movie on, and then once he got rehired to Guardians of the Galaxy 3, he didn't step away from Suicide
Disney
Squad.
said they're like, okay, so get rid of all that and come on.
He's like, nope.
I made a commitment, and I'm going to honor that commitment.
You fired me first.
Yeah.
And
whether he did that just to be kind of a stand-up guy to DC or to stick it in there, as an FU to Marvel, I don't know, but
either way. And then Kevin Smith brought that up too. Is like he's treading both worlds now. He's DC and Marvel, and it's the only guy really to go from Marvel to DC and then back to Marvel.
Yeah.
It's usually like an exit, like they're exiting one franchise to the next and staying there. This is not that way. He's playing both sides of the field there.
Yeah, which is totally fine.
For sure, it's awesome.
I mean, JJ was doing it with Star Wars and Star Trek.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know, but that trailer specifically makes me less mournful, and more hopeful.
And
that trailer looks so much better than the previous Far From Home trailer, which I thought looked great, but it looked small.
It did.
This does not look small.
This made it huge.
This looks big.
And again, Marvel held on to these cards that they have. They hold back on stuff. A big movie comes out, and then you're like, gosh, like it's all over with. And then they're like, wham, look at this. I mean, look at what we got here.
In my opinion, okay.
Unbelievable.
Everything they did with all Phase 1, Phase 2, Iron Man, Captain America, Ant-Man, and Ant-Man I think we're going to see a lot more of too. But fantastic. But I think with the exception of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, who's incredible, but everything they've done with Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, these other characters, to me, are more interesting than any of the Iron Man movies.
Oh, yeah. I would wholeheartedly agree.
Iron Man's arc throughout all of them is great, but definitely more interesting to me than Captain America, although they were great movies.
Right.
But I don't think they've lost as much as they've gained recently with the addition of Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, specifically Black Panther, and Captain Marvel.
But think about it.
The bigger loss to me would be Thor, who I think, to me, is become one of the more interesting characters.
Absolutely.
And then they still got Guardians of the Galaxy in the mix, which we all know is my favorite. So
this is all epic strategy. Yeah. It is like all epic strategy because...
But the fun thing is, I don't think it's planned out.
In a way, it had to... It is planned out. I know what you mean, like script-wise. No, it's not planned out. But in overarching strategy, it is.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
I don't know
if you can't just throw cards to the wind and expect it to lay out correctly.
Right.
There is an overarching strategy here to where they're playing these cards or putting out these characters and putting out these movies in a way to where it'll work for them later on.
Yeah.
They don't know how or why, but they know that they have this backlog of stuff that they can pull from to make these movies great.
Right.
And no matter how they do it or the way they do it, it doesn't matter because we're so bought into this now. I don't think you can fail going on, even if it's not the way Iron Man turned out or the way this whole Infinity Gauntlet story basically has planned out. I don't feel like we're going to get that again, but we're still going to get something comparable that you're going to be like, holy shit, how did they do that now?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be clear here. I mean, I think the real work was done. The real incredible, mind-blowing stuff was done with the addition of Infinity War and Endgame. Those two movies specifically brought everything together
Right.
and ended everything. Before that, you got to remember
It's all setup stuff.
it was all setup stuff. So I don't think we'll go back to a time where we're going to make Iron Man 1, and then we're going to make Thor 1,
No.
and then we're going to make Captain America 1, then we're going to make Iron Man 2, and we're going to make Thor 2, and we're going to make Captain
No.
America 2. I don't think it's going to work like that.
It won't, because you've already got the backlog of characters, like I was saying. So they've
And I
already
don't
got
think they'll
these people
keep
established.
going like, okay, we're going to do a Spider-Man. Now this would be, consider this 2, I guess. But say in the next phase, this is Spider-Man 1, and then we're going to do another Captain America, and then we're going to do a Black Panther, then we're going to do another Spider-Man, then we're going to do I don't think
Right.
they'll do that.
No.
'Cause I
They
don't-
can't, but they have so many stories, or they have so many characters that they can pull from now
Yeah.
to make good stories. They don't have to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see them do something like, okay, we're going to do a Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Black Panther. Obviously, we're going to do another Doctor Strange. We're going to do a Hulk movie. We're going to do another Guardians of the Galaxy. So we're going to get one of each, and then some tie-in movies.
Well, so that's what the new world will be now. Is like they did the setup already. Now it's just playing what they've got. They can play with what they've got however they want to. They could be all standalones if they want, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and we're going to get new characters for sure. I just don't know what. I mean, I think
Right.
this Eternals thing is a possibility. Although they've never said that that's going to be a standalone movie, or they
No.
might be characters within another movie.
And they're gonna have X-Men.
They're going to have X-Men. They're going to have Fantastic Four. They have Silver Surfer. They have Daredevil. They haven't done. They have Luke Cage. They haven't done. They have Iron Fist. They haven't done. They have.
I don't know. Keep pulling names.
Keep going. They got
many
Winter
things.
Soldier.
They've got
They
so
got
many things
another
they could
Captain
do.
America. You know what I mean? So that's where I think, you might not get another standalone Iron Man movie, but you might see another Iron Man in another movie.
Yeah.
And it's going to be one of those moments that you're like, what?
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean?
This will never be done until we're dead, and I'm so happy about that. so let's go into the next whole big epic.
Do we have
thing that has
time for it,
happened.
or should we move that on to the next episode?
We could move it on the next episode, but
What do we
there's been
got?
two. There's been two.
How much
episodes
time
up.
do we got left?
We're 23 minutes left.
Okay, then we'll do Game of Thrones, and that's it.
Okay, you don't want to do what's in the box
If we
again?
have time, we'll see.
Okay, so 2 episodes have come out.
Yes.
The number 3 and number 4.
Yes.
I felt like this series so far of Game of Thrones is what we're talking about, obviously. Maybe it wasn't obvious, but this is the only other epic thing that has been happening in
And
our
by the way,
time
I wanted to
frame.
bring up a little factoid. All right.
Okay.
Endgame ends the Marvel Universe effectively this year.
Yes.
Game of Thrones is ending this year.
Yes.
Star Wars is ending this year.
Yes.
So we're losing everything.
So the world ends this year.
This year, we're losing the 3 of the biggest geek nerd franchises in the history of mankind. Yes, they're going to make more Marvel movies. Yes,
Yes.
they're going to make more Star Wars movies. Yes, they're going to make more Game of Thrones.
We're losing these.
If anybody out here thinks they're not going to make another Game of Thrones series, you're insane. They're going to. It's not going to be the same characters. They'll make a prequel or something.
Maybe they will have some characters. You never know.
But
Some of 'em.
we're losing some things that we've been with. We've been with Game of Thrones for almost 10 years as well.
It's been a while.
7 or 8. No, longer than that.
It's been a minute.
8 seasons, and they weren't always every year.
Correct.
So it's been 10 years.
We've waited since 2017 for the last one.
Right.
So episode 3 was the big
The
epic
longest night, right?
battle. Yes, the longest night, where winter finally came, and they were finally fighting these White Walkers.
And let me tell you, for me, it was the longest night.
Yeah. So there was a lot of lead up to what was going on. There was the way they filmed this battle scene to me was cool. I liked it because it was a lot of different types of battles happened throughout this thing. So at first, like, they send out all the Dothraki with their flaming swords because the Lady of Light comes back and
Conveniently lights their swords up to give you some lighting in the
in
hideously dark,
yes,
almost unwatchable episode of darkness.
So I was in a house that was completely dark, and which should make it easier to watch, and it just made my house even darker.
It was
with
so
the
hard.
TV on.
I wasn't so sure if it was just my streaming. Everything was being pixelated. I don't think it was.
No, it was just everybody has said it, and it was just overly dark.
And somebody brought up the point that the amount of money they spent on this show, and they're like, they filmed this on location. It was like -20, and they filmed it for like 2 months straight. This one episode,
57 days.
57 days. So, yeah, crazy. All nights.
Yep.
And somebody's like, they could have just done that as a soundstage.
Yeah, they could have done it completely different. They didn't have to do it in real life.
And you really didn't, because you could barely see anything.
Exactly. It was kind of lost.
Yeah.
Like that you did this at night. It was kind of lost on us. Like I didn't know that.
So overall, what did you think of the episode?
All because of the ending, I liked it a lot.
Okay. I was very disappointed in general, and I'll tell you why as we move along through the story. And I've been disappointed in general on Game of Thrones all season.
I guess I shouldn't say I liked it a lot. I do take that back. It was disappointing.
So in the way where you could suspend your belief in Endgame, it's hard to suspend your belief in that episode of Game of Thrones, because it just felt so
rushed
and poorly thought out.
Yeah.
So we'll start with what you're saying, sending out the Dothraki.
Yeah. So they go out there.
Dumbest tactical decision in the history of mankind
is to do that.
Makes no sense why they would do that.
A ton of people out there with these flaming swords. It was cool.
You're sending a small group of people against what is an
enormous.
innumerable army.
Yeah.
That can raise dead.
Yes. Which would then mean you're going to have the Dothraki running back at you.
It makes no sense.
So it was cool. The only thing that I thought was cool to see is that you send them all out there and you see them fighting, and then you just watch each one of their lights go out.
It was a beautifully shot scene, and it was very dramatic.
Yeah, that was cool to see. It was kind of...
But they made the scene that didn't make sense just to get that.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Just to get that effect of like setting up that horrifying feeling of like, oh man, like all of those people just went out there and now they're all gone. Mm-hmm. Now what do we do?
Right. Yeah. And so I wasn't crazy about that. And then they go off on, the tangent of Dany and Jon on dragons not doing anything or contributing to the fight whatsoever, just flying around in the sky.
Very little. I mean, they did show them.
She doesn't even light the fucking torch.
Well,
I
know.
Trench.
They started burning people up. You could see them flying through there and like lighting up people a little bit.
Why don't they just start off by doing that?
Exactly. Like I feel like they're playing these dragons off very, very poorly.
Yeah.
You have two dragons that have done
almost nothing.
Dany kind of seems whiny
and
about
spoilers,
the whole thing.
That doesn't improve in the next episode.
It doesn't. No. And that's some of the notes that I have written down is that, like, okay, the dragons just have done nothing. Jon Snow, my guy, has basically done nothing. He has fought none. He's just ridden this dumbass dragon that I thought was going to be awesome, and it's turning out not to be. Then they have this, what could have been a really cool dragon fight scene in the air while they're flying. The Night King's on one, Dany's on one, Jon Snow's on one. And I didn't know which dragon was which, who was on what dragon. One should have had snow on it, but it was so dark it just looked like a lesser dark dragon.
Right.
And I didn't know what was going on. It could have been really cool. You could have done that great. But let us see what's happening. Let us know what's happening. Like show us the fight rather than make us guess.
And this was an artistic decision.
It was.
That I get and I appreciate, and it's fine.
Sure.
But
it failed. It did fail, I think. Yeah. And
there are some great moments in the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I thought a really great moment was like lighting up that trench.
It was cool.
Making it all on fire. And then they're all standing there like, okay, like we've got this border now. We can regroup and start, screwing some people up here and maybe just start picking off their lines as we go. And then all of a sudden, what I thought was awesome, the awesome part was that they look and then they just like start falling on the fire.
The Brad Pitt World War Z
Yeah,
moment.
that's what it turned into after this. But they start falling on the fire and building on top of each other. And like I felt it and I was like, oh shit, like here it comes. Like they found a way to break through. All these dead people just start falling on it. They crawl over each other and then World War Z.
And then all of a sudden they're scaling the walls.
Well, they were climbing on top of each other.
Yeah.
To get up that high, which makes sense,
I guess.
really. I mean, I don't know. They're not the dumb zombies that just sit there and claw out a wall. You know what I mean? Like
And every time they got to any moment of interest or get you worked up, they switched scenes.
They switched. Yep.
Which was super obnoxious. They have a moment when the Night King is in the field and I think John's out there and he starts raising the dead, but they keep switching away from it.
Yeah. Yes, they did. And I think what they were trying to do there is to show what was all happening at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So you don't lose time in these switches.
Which boy you do, because there's many moments in this episode when you're like, how is there anybody still fighting?
That's what I was going to bring up, is that I felt like they were so overmatched and so overwhelmed once they got in the castle. I think it would have been a lot quicker for everyone to be dead.
Yeah.
Like that. Everyone should have been dead much, much quicker, especially when they got down into the crypt.
Turns out almost nobody was dead.
Yeah, that's what I really had a problem with, is that they were so overran and it felt so worthless to even try to fight it anymore. And then at the end of the day, they're all still alive.
Yeah,
every one of them.
Only like non-important side characters died. There were cool moments that
Jorah dying and actually protecting Dany.
It was a cool moment, but it was
cool.
ridiculous that she was in that situation.
Exactly.
It made no sense.
Shouldn't have been.
Why did she land in the field of battle outside the castle with the dragon and get off the dragon?
Yeah.
And then what's she doing walking around? I didn't even understand why she was out there.
It didn't.
And then where
have
did
anything to do with
Jorah
anything
come
that I
from
know
all of a
of.
sudden? I don't even know what was going on there.
He just happened to be there.
Didn't make any sense.
It was good to see him
be
able to die protecting her, because that is his story arc. Like that is how he should have died anyways.
They paid off that character arc in the most on the nose way possible.
It just also forced. It
felt forced.
This whole battle felt so forced to give us what we wanted, and just it didn't do that.
And then the other guy that died that was protecting Samwell Tarly.
Yes.
And then you're just sitting there like, why is he even out there?
Right.
Like, didn't he go down to the crypt? What's going on with that?
Sam should have went down to the crypt.
And then I'm like, okay, but he can't handle himself out there. But they're making him handle himself. And then we were like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. They had the good death from, was it Lyanna Mormont or whatever her name is?
The she-bear.
Yeah, but I thought it was cool that they paid off that earlier scene from the episode before where Jorah says to her, he's like, you're the last of the house.
Yeah.
You can't fight. She's like, well, and then she does die, which is kind of a good payoff.
Yeah, I think it was really great.
And a cool
it was with
scene.
a giant. It was with the smallest girl and a giant.
You can hear her bones crushing. That was a cool scene.
Yeah. It was like the David and Goliath story, where you would never think that it could ever occur, and then she stabs him in the eye with dragon glass and they both die.
Yeah. The shining scene, the shining moments of that episode all revolved around Arya. Well, with one exception. But when she was fighting them with the staff and was a badass, that was awesome.
Yes.
But then they make this curious decision to take the most confident and badass fighter in the world
and make her run around
around, which I thought was a really cool scene when she was inside. Which I'm first of all, I'm struggling to understand why there's any room inside this castle that isn't occupied by the millions of World War Z zombies. But she's like scared of like a half a dozen of them that are walking around this room. Like, you just killed 35 of them in 2 seconds.
Yep.
But somebody pointed out to me that, well, she had lost her weapon, so she might not have had dragon glass. Okay, I guess. But she was acting scared, actively scared, like a little girl.
Yes, she was. She lost her character there for a minute.
That was the loss of the character. And then I understand why they did this, but the moment with her and the Hound and the Lightning Lord, who is one of my favorite characters from the book. They don't really do him well in the show, but when he dies to protect her.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was cool, but it would have been so much cooler if the Hound had died to protect her.
Yes.
Now, they didn't do that because they need to pay off a fight later on.
Yeah, exactly.
Between him and his brother.
So I feel like, I feel like what they're trying to set up there with Arya's character is that you think she's going to go and kill Cersei too. Mm-hmm. I think she'll go there.
She's not going to kill Cersei.
No, she's not. I think she's going to die.
I think she'll probably die. Yeah.
So this is where I was going to come up with, or this is what I was going to say, is that so after this episode, I realized like her whole story arc ended with this episode, I think, because she kills the Night King at the end, which is cool. A really cool scene. Happens really fast, but
no, that's a great scene.
It's a really cool scene.
I didn't see it coming.
I didn't know. I honestly had no clue.
I can't believe I didn't because
I thought Bran was going to do something that I'd never seen before. I expected him to do something.
In retrospect, they keep constantly telling her that she's going to be the one that kills the Night King, basically.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So she was trained this whole show, the last
even
few
the girl,
seasons,
the
like,
red witch, she says it.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, well, go. You're the one that's going to do it.
Right. Like, what did we tell Death?
And I still didn't know because I'm an
Not
idiot.
today. Right. Because there's just so much going on and so much flashing back and forth. You don't know what's going on. Once she says, like, what do we tell Death? You know, not today. And she runs away. I was like, okay, what's happening there?
Well, they specifically bamboozle you because John's going after the Night King.
Yes.
He's facing a dragon. You figure he's going to figure out how to slay that dragon, and then he's going to go kill the Night King.
Yes.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Right. That's what they try to lead you to believe. Anyway, so her whole story, though, is built around being trained for one mission to kill the Night King. She gets it done. What does she have left now?
Well, I don't know. Isn't her story arc more her list?
It was until she got trained. I don't think...
But Cersei's on that list. She's the number one on that list.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to be it. I think what it is like she's been trained to kill this one dude. She did it. And now they're going to play it off as she's going to kill Cersei. But in the meantime, she's going to get killed. And I think the Hound will get killed at the same time.
No, I think he will fight his brother and
He
kill
will.
him.
They're going to go together, though.
Maybe, yeah.
And then in the next episode, because he is sitting there, like the Hound's sitting there eating dinner during that big party, and Gendry was asking about where Arya was, and you could tell he was like annoyed by that. He was annoyed that they had a relationship. The Hound was just annoyed that he's not by Arya right now. He's like, he feels like he needs to protect her all the time. You can tell. And I think that they're finally going to meet up again and go together, and then they're both going to get killed. That's just me guessing.
Yeah.
It's recorded. You guys have heard it first.
Yeah. So anyway, The Longest Night I thought overall was, for me, very disappointing. The fact that here are a couple points I made about this to another person I was talking to. To take what you've been seeding for seasons and seasons and living with, and then to do that all in one episode is a bad decision.
Yeah.
It's way too rushed when they had the perfect opportunity. First of all, they wasted 2 episodes.
That's what I was going to say. Like, why didn't they make that battle more than one episode?
This is my perfect point to this is you need to live with it. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of a week-to-week show.
Yeah.
That you're not, you can't sit down and binge this if you're watching it week to week. All right. So those first 3 episodes, first of all, you throw out most of the first episode. The second episode had some great stuff in it. Keep that. But the battle starts maybe condense the second episode and the first episode into 3/4 of an episode and then start the battle there, right?
Yeah.
And then the end of the first episode is when you send the Dothraki horde out, all their flames go out, end of episode.
Yep.
Now you're sitting there for a week going, what? All right. And then you got your second episode when the good guys start to win and they beat them back because they do that.
Right.
And they light the torch and you get your things. And then you end the episode with Jon on the field with the Night King raising his hands and all the dead soldiers coming back to life. Boom. And then you live with it for a week.
I already like your story better.
And then you live with it for a week and you just can't. You're frothing at the mouth.
Yeah, to see what's going to happen. Like, holy shit. Now, then you're going to be like, holy shit, Jon Snow fights the Night King. He's going to kill all those people. Or he's going to be like taken down by all the dead people, but he'll end up killing the Night King somehow and everyone dies around him.
Yeah.
That's what you would expect. It would build up the whole Arya side of things so much more.
And then the third episode.
Or Bran. What the What is Bran?
I don't know, man.
Why didn't he? So if he's
This
got
is such
these
an obnoxious
ravens,
character.
well, if he's got these or the crows,
The Ravens, which
is
did
it
nothing.
Three-eyed raven, yeah. So why don't you put
Why
some
do you-
dragon glass on like 6 ravens and fly over to the Night King?
Why
and just
do
peck
you
him?
do a whole scene where
Peck him
you
with
fly
dragon glass
ravens
beaks.
around that do nothing?
There's no story there. Nothing.
So, third episode, Arya kills the Night King, and then in
She did
Endgame fashion,
but she did the ultimate like up high, down low, too slow.
but to end it with the funeral. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, bam, you're into episode 4 now. So now we can talk about episode 4. The triumphant return of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yes.
This is a Game of Thrones episode.
It is.
This is what I want. And that was my other point. I was actually a little bit fine with that ending so quickly because to me, all the White Walker, this is not something that was interesting to me.
Well, it was interesting to me until they failed on the battle. Now I look back on it and I'm like, well, I don't even know why they brought that up.
That was never my favorite part of the show. Anytime they went to the north or to the wall, I was always just kind of like, oh, we got to do this again. This wasn't my interesting point of the show. I'm glad they wrapped it up early and we get the part of Game of Thrones that I liked.
And that what we started with.
Yeah.
This is what we started with. The whole White Walkers and
several
stuff kind
seasons.
of came out of, nothing really.
Yeah. So, I thought I really, really enjoyed episode 4 because I really enjoyed the political intrigue aspects and John telling her that he's not going to tell his family. And then he goes and tells his family and they immediately tell everybody.
Yeah, that he does.
And then there's this huge, that's the thing. That's the intrigue to me is like, what's going to happen now with John? And
I saw a meme of Jon Snow and it says, I promise I won't tell anyone. And he's wearing a name tag that says, hi, my name is Aegon.
But that was funny. Great. And then, but the mind baffling, they know the Iron Fleet is sitting there and they still are taking boats.
That was dumb too. Why did they take boats over there?
And the whole time I thought they're going to get ambushed. And then they start docking the boats. They're there. And I'm like, that's weird. They didn't ambush them. Well, then
right. And then they do. And then again with the dragons, we've got these epic dragons. Ooh, we're going to fly over with dragons and let them die.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. But it does set up this really great de-evolution of Daenerys.
Daenerys, yeah.
And she being goaded in and her showing that now I don't think this will stick. I think in the next episode they'll turn her, she'll make the decision to not be a terrible ruler, but I don't know because
I don't know either. I don't know. I don't know what to expect here.
She shouldn't be the ruler.
No. And I agree with
Varys,
where he
100%,
where he says that Jon Snow.
That's for you, Alex. 100%.
He said 100%, bro. Where Jon Snow is the reluctant ruler, like he doesn't want the throne, he doesn't want to be there. That's why he should be there.
I don't believe. This is one thing they're not doing well this season is the best character on the show, which is Tyrion. They're not treating him well this season.
He's kind of been a side.
Giving him meat on the bone, and this is not a decision that character would make.
No,
to stick with Daenerys at this point,
right?
He's failing all over the place and trusting his sister,
which was goofy. That was a goofy point in the beginning of the show where he said that she would, meet up with him. Why would he assume that?
And why didn't they give him his glory in the crypt? Right when they decide he's going to go,
he should have been.
It was over.
Yeah,
come on, he's proven himself.
Yeah, I completely agree. Time and time again, he has until this season.
So I don't know, but they set that all up well. I wasn't crazy about that last scene with Jaime and Brienne.
Yeah,
where he's like, I'm not a good guy.
Yeah.
I know he's going to kill Cersei now.
You think so?
I have my doubts, but it's going to be him.
Yeah. It's going to have to be. He's something. I don't know about that guy.
Well, I think that's by design, maybe.
Yeah, I think so too. I just don't. The one thing that bothers me about Cersei's character, and this is by design too, but I just don't like the fact that the majority of her time on screen is standing there staring
with that smirky
with
look
that
on her
weird freaking look on her
face.
face.
She's got a weird face.
It bugs me. It does bug me.
After this episode, there was a bunch of people on Twitter and around that were like, this is the first time ever in this thing that I am literally rooting for Cersei to win because these other people are so obnoxious.
I'm not rooting for Cersei to win just because she looks so dumb all the time.
Yeah, she does. So,
so
what did you think
aggravating.
about the ending of episode 4?
It just sets up. It does set up a lot more. I feel like.
Oh, I thought I was good.
It's a much better ending. I mean, I like the ending of Arya killing the Snow Snow King. What is it? The Night King. But this, like you said, does set up what we came to love about Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You know, we're finally getting the culmination of the throne, of what's going to happen with the throne. How that plays out, I really don't know.
No, I have no
at this
idea.
point, I have no idea where they're going to go. What they have 2 episodes left?
Yeah.
2 episodes.
Yeah.
There's 6, right?
Yeah.
What the hell?
know.
I feel like I'm going to be ultimately let down.
I'm so let down so far by this season that at this point I'm just like, okay, let's just go.
Yeah.
Let's get it over with.
Maybe they can bring it back because I know they're having some pretty long episodes. So
Yeah.
each episode's a movie.
Apparently, George R.R. Martin is not involved in the writing of this season. A lot of people are saying that that's a big problem.
Yeah.
And
obviously.
maybe the last season too. But
I think it was the last 2.
Yeah.
He isn't.
so the problem with that last scene, which was a great potential scene, and the beheading of whatever her name is, which they try and make you care a lot about, which I don't understand.
It's the
People
whole.
seem to all over Twitter that they seem to care about her.
Yeah, I'm not
Why does
sure
anybody
why.
care about her?
Just because she came in with Daenerys a long time ago, and then her and Grey Worm love affair.
I did like the scenes with Dany when she's like, "This
She
wasn't."
has no ultimate,
Well, I did like
weight
the
in the
slow
story.
realization, which they didn't play up enough of, like, oh, these aren't my people.
right. They
You know
aren't.
what I mean? And that's why, I guess that's why they're trying to make it seem like she doesn't care if she kills all those civilians in King's Landing, because they keep saying over and over, like, don't destroy King's Landing.
Right.
And she's ultimately like, I don't care about King's Landing or these people. These aren't my people. Why am I here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yes.
You get that feeling. And I think that's on purpose, but it's super against the character that they've developed for the last 6-7
100% of what she has done has been like, I'm going to save all of the people. And that's where Tyrion comes in and says, like, don't destroy all of this stuff because this is the way you are.
But this is a Thanos moment.
It is.
This is a Thanos moment. This is the greater good. This is, I need to destroy this, so what comes next, I can build it and it can be right.
Maybe I can pump
Which
up
we all
this-
know, once again, doesn't happen. It's
Exactly.
impossible. So she is ultimately become the Thanos tyrannical dictator.
She has.
And she is going to have to fail. And I think she's going to die.
And I think she's going to do this because she's pushing herself in a way, like you said, like a tyrannical leader where she doesn't know what else to do. What she has been doing in the past is not working anymore. She sees everyone loving Jon Snow,
Yeah.
like sitting there watching everyone say, he's our king, he's our king. And she's just sitting there like, huh,
But instead
Here
of
I am.
taking making the realization, all right, which I thought would happen in that bedroom scene, instead of her making the realization of, oh, he's the one.
he's the one that needs to do
She
this.
gets in this real petty, gross.
It was terrible where she was telling him, like, you can't say anything because I'm the queen.
It was by design, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think John might end up killing her.
You think so?
He's established that, like, he can reluctantly carry out. He's beheaded people. Remember, it was
Yeah.
it's set up with his character. My dad always taught me, if someone you need to swing the sword yourself.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
And I think that's been set up with his character. Although I think Jon Snow might be a little too righteous for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But anyway, what got me on that last scene, which could have been spectacular, is, again, it's just this overarching stupidity of the fact that they marched 20 people out there with these scorpions and all these people, and
Yeah.
they want you to believe that Cersei wouldn't just go out and kill them all.
Yeah.
That's the end.
Like, of course she's
That's
going
the
to.
end game. They got nothing. They're sitting there's 20 of them. Daenerys is there. Tyrion walks up to the gate and they want you to believe that she's not going to shoot him dead.
Yeah,
That makes no freaking sense.
exactly. You're right.
And,
'Cause
and I wanted to care about that scene, but I couldn't because I couldn't get over that. I'm like, what? Why isn't she killing them? She's ruthless. She doesn't care about anything.
right.
It doesn't.
I don't know why she didn't to begin with, but
But otherwise, though, that was the first episode of the season, which I truly enjoyed.
yes, and I felt like it is very good setup that should have happened the first episode.
Yeah. I mean, the second episode I
Jeez.
enjoyed because it was a great character episode, but I just thought it went on longer than it needed to.
Yeah. Which so are we.
Well, in your opinion, man.
No, it's not my opinion. It's the timer.
Oh. So know what's in the box tonight.
No, what's in the
I
box.
got a
but
whole
we covered
list of what I've been watching.
that's next episode. Brother.
I'll just give you a little hint just so you can be excited.
Okay.
I've been watching Doom Patrol.
Oh, that does get me excited.
Yeah. I've piqued your interest.
Big time.
I'm 3 episodes in.
Okay. That's good to know.
I'm going to take you on a little bit of a ride next time when we talk about the strangest,
That's awesome.
weirdest, craziest show
Really?
that has ever possibly existed.
Good to know. That'll be on the next episode. But we've dug some deep stuff into Endgame and Game of Thrones here.
Yeah.
This is the world we live in now, folks. Is
This is
this
it.
kind of stuff. And it's awesome.
Yeah, for 12 more months.
Yep. All right.
12 more months? No.
Well,
Whatever it is till December when Star Wars comes out.
It's
And
definitely not a year from now.
the entire the entirety of our world collapses.
Right. And then we're done for.
Yeah.
Show's over.
Then we'll have to start writing our comic book again.
Yeah. Maybe we'll start writing our comic book again. Good idea. Okay. Well, I guess we're done for the day.
All right.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.